Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9.
All right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Yo, 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 yo.
And Johnson.
Guido, the time has come to talk football.
After 11 years, we are back at it. The Backyard Brawl, Thursday night on ESPN, 7 p.m. I mean, I will say this, guys. I know that there's going to be some talk tonight. Not excited about football, about this team, about Neil Brown, about Graham Harrell, JT Daniels, whatever. I'm excited that this game is back. Like, we did 68 consecutive years of the Backyard Brawl, and then we haven't had it for 11 years. It's been 11 years without it, and WVU has won 7 out of the last 10 matchups. It's our game. I mean, 2007 still hurts a little bit, but I'm excited to be playing Pitt again, the Backyard Brawl, ESPN, 7 p.m. Thursday night. It's going to be, the game's sold out. It's an exciting time, Johnson. It's good to be a WVU fan, at least for this reason.
Well, how do you feel about, because we can talk Pitt all day, right? And we've been, like, everyone and their brother has an opinion about this game, but how do you feel, and I'm surprised, Scoot, but how do you guys feel about Pitt's favored by 7, but the over-under is 51.5?
That sounds like it's a shootout.
Yeah,
it's a shootout
for a
right?
team that hasn't named a quarterback yet. That feels like a big number, does it not?
I mean, it feels like a big number. Do I think our offense is going to be a little bit better than it has been? I mean, that's what that number's telling me, is that somebody thinks our offense is going to be a little bit better.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like, that, to me, that's someone looking at the season talk up to this point, and they've decided they're confident in
that's
the
also telling me they think our defense is going to give up quite a few points.
Well, that's not a false statement. Yeah, they're going to give up some points.
That is not, but historically, like, this game historically has not been like, at least the last couple of times, it's not been a crazy high scoring game. I mean, last one was 21-20. That's, everybody remembers Geno Smith throwing a 67-yard touchdown to Stedman Bailey, like that, that was, those were the old days. Geno was there, Tavon was there, but prior to that, 35-10 in 2010, 19-16. It hasn't been a high scoring game. That 06 game was a really high scoring game, but it's been a while. So 51.5 was really high for me in this game.
It feels high. It feels really high. It makes me excited for the game, but it just feels really like a high number. And I think when you add in the fact, Guido, you noted that Desmond Howard, so game day is going to be in town. We're going to get the full game day experience, which, Scoot, by the way, we're not, but we could talk about how cringy Lee Corso has been lately. Like, I like Lee Corso, but it's a bit hard to watch. We were talking about that earlier. They should kind of let him off the hook. But anyway, Desmond Howard picks Pitt to be in the college football playoff. Now, that I don't get. Like, I get that they're good. I get that they're picked high in the ACC conference. Just in general, I think they're picked to finish second in the Coastal behind Miami, which, Guido, Miami's always back, but then they're maybe not back.
They're not.
This is another one of these rankings. Like, Miami's back and Pitt's second. And I think Pitt feels like they can just win the Coastal, and Desmond Howard's confident. That surprised me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Kool-Aid Dez was drinking. That was a very strange pick, at least out of the ACC, to think that they're going to make the college football playoffs. But I don't know. That's what, and we talked about it, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. That's what makes me nervous about this game. We don't have a quarterback yet. Desmond Howard's picking Pitt to be one of the top 4 teams in the country. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. And I think for me, Scooty, like, the craziest thing about WVU this camp is, of all the years, like, our expectations have either been really low, really high. Like, we've heard things we haven't, there's a lot of information. So-and-so is doing such and such in camp. This has been really quiet, this camp. WVU, and I get it. Like, for all intents and purposes, like, we know that JT Daniels is the starting quarterback. I think all of this, like smoke and mirrors and not announcing a starting quarterback, Scoot, is just because he's trying not to lose one of the other guys into the portal before the season kicks off.
Right.
And I think he's going to announce all of that. And the rumors, if you are out there on the Twitterverse and you're in your WVU Twitter, you'll hear that the vast rumor is that he's going to announce the starting quarterback on his radio show this week prior to the game. I think what's weird about WVU this year is, like, Scooty, we don't know anything about what's happening in camp. We don't know anything.
Scoot,
Part of the reason,
Scoot, before you say that, hold your thought. Can we just recognize that I want to give Guido a shout out for using intents and purposes correctly, because someone around us, I feel like, says intensive purposes, and that always drives me crazy. And so,
thank you,
hats
thank
off
you, grammar
to Guido.
police.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Scoot, as you were.
Sorry. So I think part of the reason why it's been quiet is Neil Brown doesn't have to talk up a mediocre quarterback. Maybe we've got a decent quarterback somewhere in these four guys, so he doesn't feel compelled to try to sell the public like, hey, we're not that bad. Don't not buy tickets to our games because we've got a great quarterback. Jarrett Doege's looked the best he's looked ever in football. Like, he was talking all this nonsense last year. He was still kind of pushing the trust the climb nonsense last year. Like, to me, that's insulting. As a human that knows a little bit about sports, I don't think I need somebody to tell me what I'm actually seeing when I see it for myself. So I think that's part of the reason maybe why he's been quiet, is because it kind of backfired on him last year, where he really talked up the team, and then here, we struggled out of the gate, and it was kind of a blah year, really.
So this is where I know we're going to give our predictions here in a minute, Johnson. We're going to talk about the whole season. We're going to kind of touch on a bunch of stuff here. It's going to be a long segment, but this is where my West Virginia, my normal West Virginia fandom starts to creep back in.
Right.
Because now I'm like, okay, it's quiet.
Yep.
We've got all these new guys, and we've got a lot of guys who've stayed around.
So you're inherently assuming the worst is what you're saying.
No, I'm the
He's
opposite.
the opposite.
I'm the opposite.
He's
right,
drinking the Kool-Aid.
He's
all in.
I'm like,
He's
I'm
Mr.
like,
10-2.
See, I thought you meant that's our
No.
normal negative Nancy coming into play.
I'm the other one.
You're
I'm like,
optimist.
maybe
Okay.
We're not hearing things.
All right.
We're not hearing things because they're good.
Yeah.
We're not
And
hearing
they're
things
keeping it
because
quiet.
they're amazing.
Yeah.
And they're keeping
Okay.
it quiet. They don't want to because here's the thing. What's Pitt ranked? Pitt's ranked 17 coming
Right.
into this game,
Preseason
right?
17. Yep.
There are so many people on Twitter, so many people online that think this team's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
9-3, 10-2. We're going to win the Big 12.
Wins. Yeah. Right.
We're going to beat Oklahoma. This is the year we beat Oklahoma. We're going to beat Texas. They might not be in here anymore, and we're going to beat them on their last year.
I've read all of that. Yes.
Like, listen, Neil Brown hasn't won 3 games in a row. This is year 4. Now, I did a little research. This is going to surprise you guys. I don't do research.
Okay.
I did a little
You
research.
don't. You definitely don't do
Okay.
research.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued already.
How many wins does Neil Brown have in the last 3 years?
I think it's 17, Guido.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay. Now, here's a better question. How many of those 17 wins came against a Power 5 team with a winning record?
Ooh. Oh, that's very
That's a
good.
really good
Scoot,
question.
that's a
That
very good question.
Winning record.
Yeah.
Winning
Power
record.
Five
Right.
Coming into the game with a winning record.
Yes. Well, no. Ended the season with a winning record.
Okay.
Ended the season with a winning
Yes.
record. Okay.
So out of 17, I'm going to say 7.
I was gonna be like 8 or 9. Yeah.
3.
No way.
No way.
3.
Really?
3 wins, or 3 teams, 3 wins against teams from a Power 5 conference that finished their season with a winning record. But that was it. That's it.
So here's where my argument is, Scoot, though. Like, I'm with you. Like, I understand where you're at. Like, Neil Brown hasn't showed us anything. It's been 3 years. Okay, well, whatever. 4 years. We got the COVID year. Like, there are things. I get it. I get all of that. But here's where I'm on the other side of it. Okay, so we've made changes this year. Like, it came to light. I guess it was never said in the media, but it definitely was insinuated multiple times that Neil Brown was and has been the play caller offensively for the team, right?
Yeah, right.
That Gerard Parquet was not doing any sorts of play calling, and that, Neil Brown has spent the last, 2 seasons, at least 3, if not all, as the offensive coordinator and head coach.
Scoot, are you sad that we can't mispronounce Jared Parker's name and do the Air France raid anymore? I kind of am.
I am not, because he was not listen, when you're an offensive coordinator and then you leave that school, typically you think, well, they're probably going to be an offensive coordinator somewhere else or a head coach. What is he? The tight ends coach at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying, now we have Graham Harrell. We have a real offensive coordinator. It allows Neil Brown to go into that, whatever you want to call it, CEO role of WVU football. Does that change things for you? Does that make this team better? And you add in there the fact that, we've kept a lot of people. They had to re-recruit. They've talked about that a lot this camp. They've re-recruited a lot of players, Reese Smith, BFW, Sam James. They all got re-recruited to come back into the program. You're hearing a lot about, obviously, JT Daniels and how big he's going to be. And he was he was like the top 5 quarterback coming out of high school. All of these things, Scoot, like, these don't excite you about this season?
Well, first of all, if we're re-recruiting guys that we already have here, that tells me that they wanted to leave.
They did, because last season stunk and we didn't have an offensive
coordinator.
coordinator.
3 seasons have stunk.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Well, I think the fact too that Jarrett Dagey goes to Western Kentucky, Guido, am I right on that? And then he gets beat out by, I think, a Division II transfer for their job. Like, I think people that were already frustrated that they had to watch Jarrett Dagey for 3 years, like, not to hammer on him because he's taken enough
but can
heat,
I say this?
But like,
I think
like that feels even more like, hey, someone else needs to head up the offense,
right. And I think Jarrett Dagey is sort of like the poster child of the problem of Neil Brown. Like Jarrett Dagey was, Neil Brown had that relationship with the Dagey family. Jarrett, he came in, he was not excitable. He was not, he was serviceable, right? And so, and what I think you posted, Johnson, I saw where he's now the starting quarterback, or he's going to Troy, which is kind of funny, by the way.
Did
Troy,
Neil Brown borrow money from the Dagey family and couldn't pay it back?
Maybe.
Is that what's going on here?
The best part about that Troy thing is, like, it was like prolific WVU quarterback Jarrett Dagey.
Well, the tweet that caught my attention, Scoot, named him as one of the most announced that news of him going to Troy and noted him as one of the most prolific quarterbacks in WVU history. And I thought,
well, you know what happened? Neil Brown probably wrote that tweet. Neil Brown probably helped out his friends back at Troy.
Let me ask you this, Guido: is this feels weird? This whole I'm gonna announce my quarterback on the radio show. Is this the most exciting thing to be revealed at Kegler's?
No, it's not. And
I would think like a new app. A new appetizer might be more exciting.
Like, I'm just asking.
Boneless wings.
Boneless wings was probably a bigger announcement.
All the way nachos or something. I don't know.
Here's my problem: is I thought for a while, at least for the last week and a half, I thought, well, he's waiting for Pitt, and this is like a little game. They're playing like a little tete-a-tete. Pitt's not going to name theirs. Yeah. We're not going to name ours, and then the game will start. Whatever. And then Pitt named theirs on Wednesday of last week.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to find out Friday that it's JT Daniels win or whatever. And still nothing. And I mean, here's my problem with it is, so like he's essentially saving it as the big announcement on his Kegler's sports show with TC. And I'm like, is it really going to be a surprise? Like, is it really that? And I don't think it's about that. Like, I think everybody knows, like, it's JT Daniels. I think it's more about Goose and Garrett, because I think it's about one of those guys is going to jump ship if they find out they're at least not the number 2. And so I think it has more about depth chart position than anything else.
Yeah, and Scoot, we kicked around the idea. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. So I think we were just doing it for funsies. But we were entertaining the thought that, do you think there's any placating of egos there? Like, Nico came in hottest thing since sliced bread, then all of a sudden kind of the limelight gets pulled away when JT Daniels makes his decision. Do you think there's any, do you think some of this, maybe not, probably not, right? But it's kind of, I think earlier in the week we were kicking it around do you think they're saying man, Nico's so close, but we're going to go ahead and go with JT or something? You know what I mean? Just to placate some egos.
For me, it says to me now, because of all this hype around Nico, listen, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He probably is a good quarterback. He is left-handed, so that changes everything you've got going on kind of on your offensive line. I say everything. I mean, you're going to have to switch tackles around. But what it tells me is if he's this hottest thing since sliced bread, which, I mean, I don't know how hot sliced bread is, but, something must have told those coaches, hey, he's good, but he's not ready.
Well, I mean, before that, people had to slice their own bread, Scoot. I guess
that was.
I just think his group, his gang is hey, bud, we came 2-3 time zones away. That's all I was saying. Do you think there's anything there? And that's why they're kind of stringing this out. Maybe not, but it did cross my mind.
I think it has less to do with Nico. I don't think Nico's the problem here. I think Nico is going to swallow the red shirt fine this year. And
it makes the most sense. I mean,
and I think it's fine. I think he thinks it's fine. I think his family thinks it's fine. I think the problem surrounds more around Garrett Green and Goose. And I think that there is, and to be honest with you, if you want my opinion, and I don't know, no, again, we're not talking to anybody there. I think it surrounds mostly around Garrett Green, because I think Garrett Green thinks he should be the 2 and the QB in waiting, and I don't think he is. And I think Goose is probably the better quarterback, and I think they're afraid to.
Scoot thinks the Goose is cooked.
I do think the Goose is cooked. I think Garrett Green's going to be your number 2. I think in part because he will, if let's say JT Daniels gets hurt, he is going to cause a problem, kind of like when Boner Stabone from Texas Tech was the starter, and we weren't ready for that, and
he's
ran
now at
wild
Marshall,
on us.
by the way.
Yes, and he got named the starter.
Yeah.
But he ran wild on us because teams are not ready for that. If you've prepared all week long for JT Daniels, who's a pocket passer, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Garrett Green's the guy. That's why I think he'll be the number 2.
Okay.
I think it just causes enough.
But either way, you got to have from a coaching standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, you got to have those guys bought into the program, because if they don't stay, then we're really screwed. You can't rely on Nico as the number 2. That's the problem.
Here's what's going to happen.
They need one of those guys as the number 2.
Nobody goes to college thinking, well, I hope I'm just the backup. They all go thinking, first of all, I was the man in high school, so I need to prove myself a little bit, but I know what I'm capable of. I'm going to be the man in college. Why wouldn't I be? So in my mind, Garrett Green and Goose got to be a little bit ticked. And Goose probably more so than Garrett, because at least Garrett got a chance a little bit last year. And I guess if you want to be honest, and if Garrett's upset as to how things are playing out, he had the chance to go when he probably should have gone. Everyone was talking up Nico, and then a lot of people were even saying that Goose was going to leapfrog Garrett anyway. Garrett should have gone to probably a smaller Division I school. Maybe.
Well, hindsight's 20/20. I agree with you. I guess it'll be interesting then to see when the final depth chart does come out, because then I would agree with you, Scoot. If he finds himself as the 3 or something, then you're like, dude, why didn't you just go and
should have gone when you had the chance? Yeah. But Neil Brown kind of strung him along just long enough, maybe. I don't know. We don't know what they're saying to these guys. We're not,
right.
We don't know if Garrett feels like he has a legit shot.
Well, Guido, JT Daniels has been named to the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award watch list, so hopefully he can be named the starter first, and then fulfill that.
Yeah, right.
That would be good.
I think it'll. I mean, listen. I don't think they're pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. I mean, I think everybody's expecting JT Daniels to be the starting quarterback.
I mean, you would be surprised.
What happens if he's not?
It's not going to happen, Scott.
Let's say what happens if he's not.
It's not. What happens
if
he's not?
What would you do if Nico was the starter all of a sudden?
That would kind of be hilarious.
Listen, here's the thing. If JT Daniels doesn't start the Pitt game and he's healthy on the sidelines, then I'm not watching WVU games the rest of the season.
Whoa,
Like, why?
whoa,
Why?
whoa.
I'm not.
Whoa.
Listen, I'm not. If Garrett Green or Goose or Nico start the game on Thursday and JT Daniels is holding the clipboard, like, are you watching any more WVU games? I'm sold on this team. Like, I'm done at that point. Like, no, I am. Like, that's
Wow.
ridiculous.
I feel like
JT Daniels is the starter.
He just threw a statement down, Scoot.
That's a statement. That's a statement. Listen, follow me on Twitter. It'll be there. All right. A lot has come out, though, guys, of camp this year. Graham Harrell has said multiple times that this is an air raid offense.
Okay.
Like, this is a passing offense. And oddly enough, again, if you're out there on the Twitterverse, you've seen Brian Palende, who was the backup tight end, is now listed in a lot of places as the one. So he is now the starting tight end, and O'Loughlin's shown as the backup tight end in that role. And he even said he got a presser on Friday. So, when these guys start to get press conference time, when they get in front of the media, when they get sent out, that's usually a sign too. And so he got out and he said, yeah, Coach Harrell's been getting me the ball a lot. We're an air raid offense. I mean, I think the depth chart is interesting this year, for lack of a better word, Scooty. That's the part that keeps me hooked. Like, that's where I'm hooked on it.
Here's the thing, right? Until we see something that looks drastically different, we cannot expect different results, right? We haven't seen anything that looks drastically different yet, have we?
No,
that is a no.
We haven't seen anything.
So-
That's
that
the
is
thing.
a
That
no.
we haven't.
So
We're gonna maybe see it
for
on
me
Thursday,
to say,
though.
listen, we've got a different
So,
tight end.
so
and
Scoot,
we've
let me
got a
say
couple different
something.
people
Let me
around.
just post something to you. WVU comes out Thursday, 17th ranked Pitt.
Yes.
17th ranked Pitt.
At Accra Sure Stadium.
Yes.
At not
Heinz
Field.
Field Stadium, whatever.
WVU comes out, plays this game.
Yes.
Let's say they win.
Okay.
Let's say they win handily. Let's say they win by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're really laying it on thick there, aren't you?
Right? Let's just say it. Let's just say that.
You
Let's say
say
they
it.
come
Go
out.
ahead.
Are we saying
You're
it? I
saying
think
it.
you're
Saying
saying
it.
it.
I'm not
You're
saying
saying
jack.
it. I don't know what we're saying. We
I ain't
haven't
saying
said
nothing.
anything. You're
But
saying a lot.
Are you changing your tune on this team?
No.
Like you say, you haven't seen anything. They beat Pitt by
That's a fair question.
14.
Well, here's what happened.
Like,
Okay,
are you?
so let's say they beat Pitt and then they lay an egg to Kansas. What does that do for you?
I'm still happy, to be honest with
how
you.
about them apples? Well, I think, though, that I would be more – this is how pessimistic I am right now, and I'm going to see Scoot's reaction to this. But if that were to happen – and I'm already laughing before I can get this out, but like, I think I would be more apt to assume everyone got it wrong on Pitt rather than we were.
Oh, I thought you were going to make some
rolling.
sort of cool
That's
bet.
rough.
Like,
No.
you would, next podcast, you would run around, take your shirt off, and swing it around like a helicopter for the first 5 minutes of the show.
No, that
then
is-
we would go to
that is
YouTube
not
on
where
that.
I was going. I'm just saying that I'm still Guido, I'm glad you're being optimistic. I feel pessimistic right now, and I don't think it has anything to do with I think the changes that you're talking about are noted, and that is something to be excited about. But I think I'm still in Scoot's camp where the past is still
Well,
anchoring me
I'll
down
say
a
this.
little bit.
The past tells me if you win against Pitt and you win against Kansas, you're losing to Towson State. So are you comfortable with that? Because that's what the past has done to us. So if you're comfortable with that, go ahead and take your wins against Pitt and Kansas, but you're going to lose to
Because it's
Towson.
going south against Towson.
3 years. We have not won 3 games in 3 years in a row.
He's so caught up on this.
Johnson, what's more important to you right now? Beating Pitt
Okay.
in the first Backyard Brawl in 11
Okay.
years. Or,
You're leading the witness already, but what's the second part?
You're badgering the witness.
yes, I am. Or holding on to the trophy with Virginia Tech and beating Virginia Tech again because Grant Wells is their starting quarterback.
Well, it's got to be
Which
Pitt,
game is more
right?
important?
It's got to be Pitt.
I think Pitt
the
is
only
too.
reason I would hesitate is because I can't remember off the top of my head when you get these guys again, because I think, unfortunately, Guido, if you do lose to Virginia Tech, it feels terrible because I don't know when they're back on the schedule. So they could have that Black Diamond trophy for a long, long time, and that would
They
suck.
could,
Like
right.
that would
Yeah,
definitely
right.
suck. Don't we get Pitt why do I not know this?
4 years. This is a start of 4
Right.
years.
Okay. So
minimum.
We get these guys that get. You know what? I might actually change. No, I'm sticking with Pitt. I hate those guys.
See, I'm
No,
kind
I
of with
hate-
you
I
though.
hate those
I mean,
guys.
you want that?
Yeah, I'm going with Pitt. I hate those guys.
All right. So I mean, that's an interesting. And Grant Wells, I mean, kind of historically passed over by WVU. Didn't come to WVU. Did his whatever.
Well, and
year
that's like
at
a wild
Marshall.
card thing, isn't it? Because remember, he had set the world on fire at Marshall through like 10 games. And then remember, they were like a 4,000 point favorite to Rice, and they lost by like 21 or something. And then
right?
he went on to lose his, starting role.
Let me bring you guys back down to earth here for a second. Let's just get back down to earth.
Okay.
It takes the fun out of everything.
Go ahead.
Pitt is good.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're
good.
not.
They're good. They're ranked. They won the ACC last year.
Well, the question to me, Scoot, was what would I like better? And I would love them to beat Pitt, and that factors in.
I get you.
Yeah.
They've got a legit quarterback who also played at USC.
Yeah.
They're going to be very good.
All right, but so Scoot, can you name this is where I get mad at Scoot though, because I feel like Scoot says these things, but it's only because he reads little snippets on ESPN on his app on his phone.
I read the bottom line, and I listen to Skip Bayless.
Yeah, and he does
Skip
it
Bayless
look into.
And Stephen A.
Scoot,
Smith.
can you name 3 of the 4 starting wide receivers for WVU?
3 of the 4? Yeah, sure.
Go ahead,
Bryce
name.
Ford Wheaton.
Yes.
Okay.
Sam James.
All right.
Caden Prather.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reese
Who's 4?
Smith.
All right, that's good.
Yeah, proud of you.
Come on, son.
Can you name any more?
Sure. We have.
He gave you a quick sure, and now he's like, I'm not sure.
But here's the thing: you're talking about redshirt junior, sophomore. Caden Prather's a sophomore. Redshirt senior. You're talking about guys who've been in the program for a while, Scoot. You look at the offensive line, and you talk about, Wyatt Milam's a sophomore, a surprise starter. But you got Gamitter. I still haven't figured out how to pronounce his name right. He's a redshirt senior. Zach Frazier, who is named to all these watch lists as a junior.
Yeah.
There's Doug Nestor, Brandon Yates. There's names that we know that we've seen, Scoot. They've been in the program for a while. This is what college football is about. The difference between college football and pro football is pro football, you buy your wins, right? College football is you build to your wins. And so I feel like this is the year that Neil Brown has been able to build to his wins, at least on the offensive side of the ball for sure.
College football used to be you build to your wins. But nowadays, that's a little bit different.
But I don't know. This is where I want to argue the other side.
Do I want WVU to win? Sure I do. I live in West Virginia. I went to WVU. I went to WVU. I am being realistic. I'm being realistic. Now, here's the thing that I want you guys to listen. I've told you this, and I've told you before. Neil Brown and some of the coaches, I think, are some of the issue. At one point, you were looking to get rid of Shane Lyons. I'll remind you, that was a mere couple of months ago. You were asking where he was. You said to him,
where's Shane Lyons?
Yeah, where's Shane Lyons?
It's like our most downloaded episode ever because I was like, where's Shane Lyons?
Listen, I'm tired of West Virginians settling for what they get.
Preach, Scoot. I'm here for this.
So
get on it.
I was texting you guys back and forth yesterday. I think it was yesterday, the other day.
Doesn't matter.
And
don't be my parents and ruin the story trying to think of when it happened. Was that
here's
Tuesday?
The thing. Tuesday.
I texted you the other day.
Tuesday. The thing is, West Virginians need to stop feeling like they deserve what they get, and they need to start getting what they deserve.
Oh, that's a hot one.
Does that make sense?
Guido, put it on a t-shirt. Put it on a t-shirt in the store.
Sell it on the
website.
website.
The store.
Yeah,
in the
right.
GYEO store, put it on a t-shirt.
A lot of times we're sitting there thinking, well, it's just West Virginia. That's just how West Virginia is. That's how things go at West Virginia. We got to get hopeful and then get crapped on. But guess what?
But
It doesn't have to be that way.
Your point in saying that is that you think we should demand more and not settle for what we're getting.
Right. It doesn't have to be that way.
So here's the question. So let's go with, and we haven't even gotten this far yet, but let's go with the fact that Scoot thinks WVU is going to have a losing season. And
he's already decided that's your take.
I know. I mean, I'm not wrong. And like how much then what do you do? Like
the seat's hot.
You talk about this
hot seat.
Yeah, but is this? But like, here's the thing: like, his seat's hot, but like,
then
you're talking about another tear down. Then you're talking about another tear down and rebuild.
Well,
yeah, but
you're
I
back
think
in.
I
You're
think
back
you
into
could
buying the
argue,
3 years again.
Scoot, I think you could argue that, like, we've never really rebuilt from the prior coach.
We're
right?
still trusting the climb. He wore the hat. He wore the trust the climb hat.
It's kind of a cool hat, though.
I mean, it's kind of cool. I do like the mountain thing. That's
it's
kind of a
cool
look.
hat.
But listen, what are we doing? Why are we trusting a climb? Listen, Miami hasn't been very good for a while. They get a new coach. There's already new optimism. Like, they're thinking, hey, we might win the ACC. Like, not us. Hold on, guys. In about 5 years, you'll be competitive. No, why? Why are we waiting?
I like when Guido leads you down a path where you end up with your voice 2 octaves higher than you normally talk.
Well,
that's when the magic.
Understand.
That's
like,
when the magic.
Why
happens.
do we settle for being mediocre? Because
no, I get it.
Down the
I
road,
get it.
We'll get better.
There's not a part of you, Scooty. There's not a part of you, like, and there's not a part where you look at it and go, maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the one.
No.
JT Daniels?
No.
Like JT Daniels? No. Graham Harrell? No.
No, not yet. Not until I see something. I haven't seen anything. But here's the thing, like, I'm going to use Dana Holgorsen, right? Dana Holgorsen goes to Houston. What did we think about Houston before Dana Holgorsen got there? Okay. They've had a couple of quarterbacks because that was because of Dana Holgorsen. Dana Holgorsen goes there. All of a sudden, they're kind of like they're not a bad football team. They're pretty good. Like, why do we have to sit around and wait? Why? Like, we don't have to. It's modern days. Like, we don't have to live in the past where, like, well, if the wagon doesn't come around to Morgantown, we won't get those recruits in. Listen,
we've got smartphones.
Well, let's talk then. Let's get into it then, Scoot. Let's get into it.
Let's dive in.
You're sort of like tilling the field to harvest a crop of bad, and I want to see what's on your mind for this schedule. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's get into it, and let's start with this Pitt game this week, Scooty. I mean, we'll let you go because you're the most heated on this. WVU not ranked. Pitt ranked 17th right now. Pitt's picked by 7. Over/unders high. Like, who wins this game, Scott? What's your guess?
It's Pitt, and I think it's by. I'm going to say something like a score of. Listen, I'm very concerned. I have yet to see other than Charles Woods. Like, I don't know what we've got back there. I'm going to say they've got a score in the high 30s, and we're probably around 21. And that gets you close to your over.
So give me a number. Give me a number.
I'm going to say 21 for us and 38.
38. Okay, I'll go 38. Here's what I think. And if I was okay, kind of am a betting man, and I just put money on this game, I'd pick WVU and take the points because 7, I think, in this game is a stretch. I think WVU loses. I'm with you on the loss. I think WVU loses. I think it's 27-24 Pitt. I think Pitt wins by just a field goal.
It's not going to be that close, I don't think.
Really? Like, you're sticking to that score prediction?
Me?
Scoot.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that close. You said what's 7.5?
7.
Yeah, 7.
7? I think they lose by 2 touchdowns. I think. But, I mean, who am I? I only predicted the record correctly last year. So, I'll just throw that out. Every game correctly, but I don't know anything.
That you're trying to humble brag there a little bit.
I mean, no, that's just a straight scoop brag.
I mean, I don't know anything.
I've been going back and forth on this, Guido, because I think that's all like you can talk like talent spread over under blah 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 all that stuff, and I think in a game like this, when you know the emotions are going to be super high and the atmosphere is going to be not a normal game atmosphere, I think some of that stuff just sort of goes out the window. I think guys find another gear when they need it.
Right.
I think weird stuff happens, like maybe I still think a lot of WVU fans are going to show up to this game, and they're going to create.
Yeah, I can't wait between the third and fourth quarter when they play Sweet Caroline. Like, that's going to pump
One
off,
of the
man.
concerns I have, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
like the fans feel this way. The players were 6 the last time the two teams played. And most of them aren't from here, so they don't have that. Like, it's like a fostered,
Yeah,
like,
I
dislike.
disagree with you, Scoot,
I know,
though.
but they're still going to feed off the energy.
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm just saying
I know
they
what
don't
you're saying, but
intrinsically
I still
have it.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be after a 3:30 Saturday in Ames, Iowa. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a game people are invested in. It's going to be a really cool environment. I just think it's going to be a good environment both ways. And I think Pitt is talented enough to hold. Like, look, have we been good on the road, Scoot? No, we haven't. And I'm not saying this is a hostile environment, but it's going to be an amped up environment. It's going to be a keyed up environment. And I think they have enough talent. You highlighted something that I'm still a little concerned about, which is our back end of the defense. Like, I don't know what's in the secondary, to be honest. I'm not saying it's not good. Maybe I'm just not up on it, but I know that we've had a lot of moving parts and some of the transfers in the offseason happened from that area. So I'm nervous about a Keaton Slovis getting on top of that defense. And so I'm with you guys. I just think the score is going to be a little bit closer because of that energy and that atmosphere and that emotion in the game. I think 7's going to be pretty true to form because Guido noted a lot of these former games. I mean, normally it's a close game anyway, regardless what the teams are ranked and stuff. I'm going to, let's see. So I would go, I don't know. I would go like 28-24, I think. That's.
I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm right there too.
I think that's where I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a frustrating loss. Is what I think. We're going to be really close, and I think it's going to be a frustrating loss.
Two things. Don't take me as your don't bet based on what I say, or at least don't be mad when you lose money. But I would take the under because I don't think there's going to be 51.5, and I would take West Virginia in the points because I don't think I don't think Pitt can cover the spread. I mean, I think WVU loses. I don't think it's a blowout. I mean, I think it's the first game of the season for both teams. New offenses, new quarterbacks for both teams. I think there's a lot that goes into that. I think some of these odds are kind of crazy with that. So I hate to say it, guys, but I do. I feel like it's a backyard brawl loss. I really do. So I hope I'm wrong. I mean, and then we're going to sit here now for the next 10, 15 minutes and pick the rest of the season and our predictions for the rest of the season. I think that if this game is a win for WVU, I want to revisit it all next week because it might. The problem is, and I've said this already, I don't know anything about this team. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what we're going to see on Thursday. And I think that's where I'm at with it. What if this team comes out and they're phenomenal, Johnson? It's possible. On paper, at least the D-backs definitely look sketchy, but at least on the offensive side of the ball, it looks possible.
Well, and that's always the tough thing about game one, right? I mean, you hear nothing but, especially with us this offseason, your new quarterback is not only clicking on all cylinders, but he's throwing to a senior receiver and they look great. And, you get all this speculation and stuff. And I think it's hard to, it's really hard to gauge. And so I don't know either. I just think the negative, that's where I go back to my normal WVU fandom where I'm always waiting on the bad thing to happen. And so I'm pessimistic, and that's where my pick is coming from. I would love to be wrong. I would love for what you just said to be totally correct. And they come out, they blow the doors off the Panthers, and we all go home happy, and we look forward to a much brighter season. That's what I would love for that to happen.
So let's dive in. Let's do the rest of the season like we normally do here in this episode. Is we usually go through, we pick all the games, then we hold each other accountable for the rest of the year. Yes, we do. Scoot last year, not wrong, nailed it. I think almost perfect. Didn't you, Scoot?
Yes, I believe I was. I think
I think you had the wins and losses right. I think there were some shuffles in games, but I think that you had the record.
Yeah, you were practically like Nostrascutus. I felt like you were on top of it.
Shane Lyons has come out and said that the expectation is that they are better and bowl eligible this year. So they were 6-6 last year. And they need to be bowl eligible this year. So you're saying, Shane Lyons, that it needs to be 7-5, and you're happy? Like that's what it sounds
Ooh,
like.
great.
Let's go through it and see where we're at, Johnson. We'll start. So we've all picked the first game already. We've all picked a loss. WVU starts the season 0-1 with a loss against Pitt. We then enjoy having the Jayhawks come to Morgantown on the 10th of September and play Kansas. How are you guys? We don't have to give scores. I just want to know win-loss. Johnson, what do you think? Is that a win or a loss against Kansas?
Yeah, I think it's a weird. We've talked kind of over our summer episodes, kind of looking ahead to this, that this is a weird place for this game to be. That might be the only thing that makes you stop and pause a little bit. It's just an odd place to be playing Kansas, playing a conference foe. But no, I think they come home. I think if anything, if we're right, they're probably at home and mad. And they kind of take out some frustration on the Jayhawks. I think they take care of business, Scoot. I think they win.
Well, I am going to give you guys something to think about. Okay.
This is going to be bad.
Jalen Daniels
Yeah.
is the quarterback at Kansas. He, if you recall, was a freshman last year. He was going to be a redshirt freshman. Lance Leopold pulled his red shirt, and he started the last 3 games of the season. He beat Texas, okay, in 3 games to the end. Then he lost to TCU by 3 points. And then the last game of the season, he lost to WVU by 7 points. So with him as the starting quarterback, they were much improved. Now, is that enough going into this to say that they're going to win the game?
I mean, outside of him, there's a lot of Kansas still on that team.
Yes.
I'm not going to say yes. I'm going to say this is a win for WVU.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be close.
You won't be surprised if it's a close game.
It could be a 3-point game. I mean, I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay. All right. So WVU. So we all pick a win there. So now we're all 1-1. We're even right now, guys. WVU then hosts Towson the next week.
What are the Towsons? What are the Towsons?
What are the
I think
Towsons?
they're like a yellow-blue bird, like a Towson hawk.
I think there's some kind of feline, right?
They are some sort of okay.
I mean, Towson is the tiger. They are your Towson Tigers, Scoot.
Oh, so we do get a tiger. We have no tigers in the Big 12, so we have a tiger. We at least get to play.
And
this
tigers
year.
always Tigers feel like you just weren't even trying, and you're like, no, we're the Tigers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that are the Tigers.
Back in the 1930s, people were like, man, what's a good exotic animal to say people are like? Let's lion.
Let's do the tigers.
How come you never have the cheetahs? Why not the leopards? You don't have too many leopards out
like
there.
Much like I feel about, other teams that use tiger. They're in Towson, Maryland. Like, how many tigers are walking around, prowling?
Come on.
I mean, I don't know. What do I know? But I don't think. Last time I went through there, I didn't see any prowling around.
All right. So FCS school comes to Morgantown. We play Towson. I think they've had the same coach. Rob Ambrose has been their coach for like the last decade or two.
That's a big swing. 10 or 20 years. He's been there for the last
10 or 20 years. He's been there. Whatever.
Not really sure.
Not really sure. But they perform well. I mean, they perform well in.
I mean, that's a win for WVU. Let's just get down.
Yeah,
to
come
it.
on. This is in Neil Brown's wheelhouse.
That's
right
a
here,
win.
Scoot.
This is where he
wins.
racks up his other 14 wins typically.
So then I go. So we're all calling another win. So we're all the same now. Well, we're all 2-1.
Yes.
Then comes the big game, the battle for the Black Diamond Trophy.
Yes.
WVU currently holds it. We travel to Lane Stadium to play Grant Wells, West Virginia native, former Marshall quarterback, who has now been named the starting quarterback for Virginia Tech. Thursday night game, another like these rivalry games for WVU this year on Thursday night. ESPN's been eating it up. Does WVU beat Virginia Tech? Boys, I have this game as a win. I think WVU holds it and does it.
All right.
What do you think, Johnson?
I think, first of all, Guido, and this is going to sound, I'm not trying to be over dramatic, but I think this is your season right here. I think this is your season, and I'll tell you why. Scoot, you want me to tell you why?
Yeah, tell me why.
I'm going to tell you why. Because you have to, again, we're not the best on the road, to put it mildly. We're going to go into Lane Stadium, like Guido said. Now, look, Virginia Tech is picked to finish 5th in the Coastal. That's like saying you're the fourth best bread in the aisle at Harris Teeter, right? In the
That's
bread
gotta be like,
aisle. I mean, what is
that's got to
that?
be like one of those
Best
whole grain
bread.
things,
Right,
right? With
like
the
that's a
weird
no
seeds
name.
in it.
Yeah,
Like,
like
you're
that's
not-
a no name.
I mean, I would say even potato bread's ahead of that.
Right. So they're bad, right? They're not good. They're only fifth in the Coastal because thank goodness Duke and Georgia Tech exist, right? I mean, that's the only reason they're fifth. So they're not going to be good. Not to bang on Grant Wells, because to be honest with you, I liked Grant Wells when he was at Marshall, because I like a good West Virginia story. Like, he was doing really well at the time. He's fallen from grace a bit since then. But I think them naming him the starter raises some eyebrows, Guido, because I think if you asked Virginia Tech fans, they would be like, man, we'd love to have some better pedigree at our quarterback position. I think if they were honest, they would probably say that. But I think it's this season, because if you lose this, Guido, you have to go. First of all, you have to sit through the remainder of the college football weekend if you lose on a Thursday. And doesn't that feel terrible when that happens? That feels horrible when that happens. And you have to wait all the way until the following weekend to address that anger. Like, I hate when you lose on a Thursday and then you have to wait this eternity until the next football weekend. It's painful.
I'm sure we'll talk about this going into it too, but this is the last game on the schedule right now for these two teams to play, at least for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So if you lose it, it feels terrible for that reason. It feels terrible because you then have to wait through the long haul until you get to the next game. I think WVU is going to be good enough, though, to get a win here and try to keep things from unraveling before it gets started in conference, and at least get into Texas with a win that they feel good about. I'm going to go. I'm not saying I feel super confident, Guido, because you're giving me that grin, but I'm going to be optimistic and say they go in, they hold the line on the Black Diamond Trophy, and they get a win. Scoot, what do you think?
I want to hear this pick. This is the big pick for Scoot.
Well,
right here. Big.
Listen, we got to look at history, right? You know I'm going there. I got to look at history.
I know where you're going.
It would be.
We've never
a
won 3
historic
in a
win.
row. We've never won 3 in a row with Neil Brown as the coach. This would be win 3 in a row with Neil Brown, based on our predictions here. I think, and I think looking at how Virginia Tech fared last year, listen, they were like putting lipstick on a pig, right?
Yeah.
And they were ranked in the beginning of the season because they got some sort of squeaky, weird win against North Carolina,
right?
Week
Yep.
1.
Yep.
Then they played Middle Tennessee and they crushed them. Then they played us and we beat them, but they were ranked, I think, 15th or 19th at the time,
which was a bad ranking. That's
right.
where it was.
Well,
a bad
and that
ranking.
was a bad loss to us because really, by all accounts, they should have won that. We pretty much handed it back to them, if you recall, and somehow they managed to lose it.
Now, if you look at the rest of their wins on the season, they were against mediocre teams. They don't really have another signature win from last season, and they also lost in the Pinstripe Bowl, like, significantly to a Maryland team that just spanked them bad. I'm going to say we win. I'm going to say it's...
Oh,
Wow,
that's big.
I'm very surprised.
I'm going to say we win, but it's a toss-up to me because Lane Stadium on a Thursday night, that crowd is going to go bananas.
Yeah,
that
they are.
place
I
will
agree.
be
I agree with you.
insane.
Yeah, I
and it's
agree.
not going to be pretty for West Virginia. Like, it's not.
No.
It's not going to be a very favorable West Virginia crowd. They always do really well at their stadium, and especially in a prime time midweek.
Yeah, it's going to be
That's going to
packed.
be like insane.
Yeah, right. No, I agree.
Now we dive into the Big 12 season, guys, where it gets this is, and Johnson, you kind of already said this, it gets a little hairy in October. I feel like WVU gets these, like, and maybe it's the Big 12 in general, but we just get these rough Octobers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean,
The
look,
hunt for
even
rough
if,
October.
the hunt for rough.
even if Neil Brown has everything clicking, this schedule sets up super difficult.
Well, here's what's bad. your one semi-guaranteed win, you already had it. So that light at the end of the tunnel like we had last year, well, at least we got Kansas game, last game of the season. Well, that one's already over with. So now you got to start trying to figure out where can you get other wins.
So now you dive into it. You travel to Austin. You play Texas. Texas going into the season not ranked. They're just outside. They're 27, I think, if you look at the AP. They're ranked 27th. But there were all those people who did pick. I mean, I have Texas losing like 3 or 4 games this year when I was looking at my numbers on it. But
this won't be one.
You have Texas. You have Texas playing WVU. I mean, I hate to say it. For me, like I loved the game we went to last year. I loved beating Texas. This is a loss for WVU. Johnson, what do you think this is?
Yeah, I think I don't like this because I think win or loss. So continuing with my comments on the Virginia Tech game, I think win or loss, you come out of Virginia Tech kind of exhausted, right? I mean, like spent. I think that's, even if you secure that win, that's going to be a tough game. You've been in a fist fight in Blacksburg. Then you got to go to Texas, which, Scoot, I know we need to let history teach us a bit. So, we went to that Texas game at home last year. Texas was a hot mess, just a disaster. They went through that game as if they were finishing a dentist appointment, and then they just left. We won. They just left, like, let's just get out of here. They no energy on that sideline. Steve Sarkisian, like, just no energy anywhere. So it's hard for me to read all the preseason stuff on Texas and then be like, oh man, they must be really good. But I've read so much of it that I feel like there has to be something there. They feel like Sarkisian has at least put a really competent team together. And I think I had the opportunity to go to Austin and go to a Texas game at Darrell K. Royal Stadium in like 2012. And that place is we're talking 100K people in the stands, super loud. I think that home field advantage and just the talent that's going to be there, I have a hard time picking a win here. I'm also going to go with a loss, Guido. I think it's going to be tough to go down there and get a loss, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Scooty?
It's a loss. They're gonna beat us. I think last year, if I recall, when we were at that game, there were some questions as to who the quarterback was going to be. I think they kind of bounced around a Thompson character a little bit.
Yeah,
he may have even gotten hurt in that game. I think came out or something.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I think somebody else kind of came in. So I think that they've got some of that resolved, and I think that's going to be a loss for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think Steve Sarkisian is like pseudo on the hot seat, but I think he turns it around. The SEC thing, like all of it it's too much for WVU to overcome.
The only thing that's going to be annoying with that, I agree with you, Guido, and the only thing that's going to be super annoying with that is we likely, like, do you think we ever play Texas again? Like, is there any motivation for them to put us on the schedule and any reason we...
I mean, outside of us meeting them in a bowl?
Like in a bowl.
No,
like
probably not.
That's the annoying thing is if... It'd be nice to kick them in the butt on the way out, but I don't know that I see it happen.
or if you drink the WVU Twitter Kool-Aid and you think that WVU is going to be in the SEC in the next 7 years.
Oh, and then a regular member of the schedule.
Right. So next we go. Next we come home October 13th. We play Baylor. Baylor is my pick, by the way, just to put a little cherry on top of everything. Baylor is my pick to be a really turned around team this year. I think they're probably only going to lose 2 games in the conference. Maybe he end up 7-2, 9 wins overall. I think Baylor has an outside shot of being the Big 12 champs. So I picked this as a loss for WVU. I went to that Baylor game, 2014, 2015, when it was an awesome, and when they were ranked and we blew and we won. That was a great game to go to. I don't think that's going to be the case this season, guys. I think WVU loses to Baylor in October. Johnson, what do you think? I
just think Dave Aranda's got that program like running on all cylinders right now. Nothing leads me to believe they're going to have a whole bunch of fall off this season. I think we were looking at the preseason poll. They're ranked 10th. I think by all accounts, people think that they're going to, challenge the Sooners for winning the conference. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many things there that feels like they're going to be a super solid team this year. And the only thing that's going to help WVU on this I think, Guido, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a Thursday night stripe the stadium home game. So I think the atmosphere for WVU could be really cool. It would be one of those really fun games to attend. I think that probably thwarts this from getting out of hand, but I think in the end, Baylor's they got too many weapons, and I think they're too talented for us to overcome. I'm going to call it a loss.
And by that point, are we going to be exhausted by these Thursday night games? Like, is it like staying up and having to watch a game on Thursday night?
It is going to be a little
tired?
weird, but I mean, I think our Big East training, I think our former Big East training,
you remember those?
We're
going to
have to lean on that and make good on it. Scoot, what do you got for this Baylor game?
That's going to be another loss for us. I don't know that it'll be a close game. I think Baylor's a good team. That's another, like, again, if I go back to my previous tirade, right? Baylor was in the depths of one of the worst programs in America.
Yeah.
And Art Briles kind of brought them back, and then they had they took another hit. And now Dave Aranda's got them back. Like, so why we have to sit back and trust the climb, I don't know, but it's another loss for us. That puts us at 3-3.
Yeah. So now we've hit 500. We're also all on. Scoot, do you realize we're all saying we're 3-3 at this point?
Yes.
We've all picked the exact same thing. That's usually not our thing, but here we are.
No. Now, here we are. This is where I think it falls apart, though. Here, boys.
Okay.
So we move on to Texas Tech. We travel to Lubbock to play the Red Raiders. Joey McGuire, former assistant head coach at Baylor for a couple of years, moves on to be the head coach now at Texas Tech. First year as his head coach. I'm calling this game a win just for that reason. New head coach, new system, new setup. I know that if you looked online, like everybody has Texas Tech and West Virginia sort of fighting for that like 6-7 battle in the Big 12. I have West Virginia winning this game against Texas Tech away, and I think it'll be a big win. I think it's a noteworthy win for West Virginia this season, considering what we have. What do you have on this one, Johnson?
See, this one is a struggle for me because for whatever reason, every season we decide to have a lobotomy the week like leading up to playing Texas Tech, and we find Guido new and innovative ways to lose to them for some reason. I have no idea why. I think last year, cut this out if I'm wrong, I think last year they were essentially, a dead man walking. I mean, they had a coach that was on his way out that everyone, had on the hot seat. They weren't performing, and they managed to still beat us inexplicably. It was one of the more frustrating losses we had. So Scoot's got me leaning on this history, right? I don't know that I'm confident. I hate that you're going to Lubbock. We never travel well there. It's like playing on the surface of Mars, apparently, for the people that go there and watch the game. Guido, I'm going to say we lose this game.
All right. Johnson's with a loss. Scoot, where are you?
I'm the same. I think it's a loss. History again. I'll go back to history. We suck at Texas Tech. The last time we were there, Boners to Bone beat us. So I'm not comfortable saying that we're going to win. So I'm going to say that's a loss. It could be a back and forth kind of game, but I think ultimately we lose.
I mean, do you ever feel like there's a point where you're like, okay, WVU can do it. They can pull it off. They can win. I mean, I know Henry Columbi, as you
right.
Boners to Bone. He's at. By the way, he's in
yes,
Marshall
he's the
now.
starter at Marshall.
Is that
yes.
what you said? I don't think I knew that.
Here's the thing. Until proven otherwise, listen. We're already going to set a new standard this year by winning 3 games in a row. So listen, let's not get too
saying,
crazy.
Like, slow down.
Yeah, let's not get too crazy breaking all these kinds of records here.
Well, Guido, I would give you I might be being a little too pessimistic on this one because I think this is where I think this is where if the JT Daniels, like if these changes, Graham Harrell, if they're going to bear fruit, I think it would be in a game like this where, what you've done in the past hasn't, to Scoot's point, like what you've done in the past hasn't worked. I think it's a game just like this where it's pretty even and you need something to tip it over in your favor. Then I would hope that's where you see the effect of that player or that coach, some of these changes. So I hope I'm wrong, but that's just my feeling right now.
All right, next up we play TCU. They leave Fort Worth. They come to Morgantown for October 29th. That game, this'll, for me, this TCU team is so interesting this year because it's the first time in like 2 decades, more than 2 decades, that Gary Patterson hasn't been the head coach. Sonny Dykes takes over as the head coach for the Horned Frogs, and again, first year head coach. Does TCU play well? Do they come out? Do they win? I mean, he's coming from SMU. He was the head coach there for a couple of years. I think WVU has a chance in this game, Scoot. I'm picking WVU for a win in this game as well. Back-to-back wins, TCU, WVU wins. Johnson, what is your opinion on this one?
I think it's homecoming. It's a much-needed home game. I think maybe for some of the reasons Scoot just alluded to, this is kind of you're long in the season now. You get this homecoming game. Crowd's gonna be into it. I think with all the newness on staff for TCU, I think WVU takes care of business at home in this game and gets a win.
Scooty.
Well, I think second half of the season, this might be the one bright spot that I'm seeing. So I think it is a win for WVU. If this game were on the road, I would say it'd be closer, but with it being home, and I think that TCU is not the TCU that we came into the Big 12 with. So I think that's they're going through some major changes, I think, there. So that's why I'm going to say that's a win for us.
All right. So next we travel to Ames. Everybody loves. That's our regional rivalry right there, traveling to Ames, Iowa. And we play the Cyclones of Iowa State. This game, November 5th, I got to tell you, I think Iowa State is an upcoming team. I mean, I also think that Iowa State may be the team that has the current football coach that's going to be at Nebraska next year, because I think Matt Campbell's going to get poached away maybe to Nebraska after their loss this past weekend. But Matt Campbell's got that team humming. I think that's a good Iowa State team. I think WVU loses this game to start off November. Johnson,
I was interested to see if you were going to ring up another 3-game streak, but you didn't sound the bell. You went lost there. I think Iowa State, Ames, Iowa, Scoot, is a very close Lubbock. Like it's a very like runner up to how bad I think we play every time we go to Lubbock. I hope we break that this season. But to me, first week of November in Ames, it's going to be lovely. Right, it should be a balmy 7 degrees or something. Like
I was gonna say, it's always
ridiculous weather, like wind blowing and stuff. And I think the last 2 trips we've made there, we've just gotten roughed up a little bit, including 2 times ago was that Will Greer team that just got destroyed. No, I'm sorry, that was still
the Holgerson year.
So that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Okay. Well, anyway, it haunts me. Apparently, it still haunts me. So, we've had some just rough trips to Ames. I think Guido's right. I think Matt Campbell still has them playing at a pretty high level. I think they'll be low key in the mix of those teams fighting for an outside chance at the Big 12. I'm gonna have to go loss on this one.
Scoot.
It's a loss. It's not going to be close. I think this one's going to be a tough one for us to even compete in. We don't know the game time. If it's a night game, that'll make it even, I think, more. I think we struggle there. And I think if it's a night game, that's going to be worse for us. That is a loss. I think Matt Campbell is a pretty good coach. He seems to be the hot name. If anyone's going anywhere from the Big 12 coaching-wise, it's him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are surprised that he's still there, to be honest with you. Apparently Neil Brown was a hot name with Auburn, and we extended him.
Next, WVU comes back home November 12th, and it's probably the last time we'll see the Sooners, at least in Morgantown, for a while. So we play Oklahoma at home. Oklahoma is the team that I think is going to play Baylor for the Big 12 championship, if you're wondering on my whole Big 12 scheme. I think Oklahoma's a good team. Oklahoma's always a good team. This is an easy pick for a loss for WVU, so I'm going loss on this one, Johnson.
Yeah, this is another frustrating, like, you probably don't get these guys ever again. I mean, who knows? Maybe you get like a Fiesta Bowl situation again or something where you meet them in a bowl. I don't know that either. I don't know that they would be motivated to get us back on the schedule after this. Who knows? So it would be great to beat them at home. I think it's true blue week for WVU. It's going to be hopefully a night game, get people fired up, make it a rowdy atmosphere. But I just think they're ranked 9th to start the season, and I think they're going to blow us out of the water, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at, Scoot. I think this is a loss.
Listen, unless Bill Stewart is somehow back in the locker room before this game, we are not beating Oklahoma.
The ghost of Bill Stewart gives a pep talk before this game.
Unless we're leaving no doubt. Was that the last time we beat Oklahoma?
Well, we've never beaten them in conference.
Yeah. So until something changes drastically, like maybe, their bus takes a turn and goes the wrong direction. They end up in the wrong, I don't know. Food poisoning. Could that happen?
So Scoot, yeah, that would be nice, right? Get a bad Taco Bell order on the way into Morgantown or something. So Scoot, that marks the 6th loss then for you and I on the schedule. Guido, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. So again, this schedule is unkind. Like, so if you're laboring at this point, you're rewarded with Kansas State, who always it's not at Bill Snyder Family Restroom, Scoot, but I mean they always play solid. They're always solid.
They've got hang on, let me think of it.
What, like Optimus Prime or
Yes,
whatever you're talking about? What did they call that guy? That quarterback?
Decepticon. He was a Decepticon? Is that what he was?
I don't know.
Is that what the bad guys were?
Optimus Klein.
Decepticons?
It was Optimus Klein. No, they were obviously not Decepticons. Those were the bad guys. Come on, man. Optimus Prime was a good guy.
Oh, well, that's what
he went into the truck, the semi truck, this is important, Scoot. Like, I was a GI Joe, Transformers, He-Man. You better get this right. You don't know this. What?
Is it Cobra Khan? Wasn't that the bad guy from GI Joe?
No, I mean it was Cobra. It wasn't Khan. There was no Khan.
There was no Khan.
No,
you're thinking Cobra Kai.
I'm mixing a lot of bad things together.
It was not with Mr. Miyagi. And anyway, look what you've done.
Here's the thing. They play in the Octagon of Doom for their basketball, which is ridiculous.
They do. Yes.
Nobody believes that.
So, anyways, this game I don't
know where that went.
This game, K-State at home. I will say we're not traveling to the Little Apple. I'm nervous. This is another one that I have circled that I don't know why I don't want to pick it as a win, but I don't want to pick it as a win. So I've got it as a loss. I think I feel like by this time of the season, WVU is haggard. Things are rough, and we're losing games because we're losing games.
I thought you were the optimist here.
I feel, well, at the end of the day, I think I'm going to be when we look at our final schedule picks.
Here's something to think about. Let me throw this in there. Let's say JT Daniels is our starter, because we don't know yet who it is, right? We're not sure. That's going to be JT Daniels, the 5-star high school recruit.
Are you referring to the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm watch list?
Yeah, the guy that was a starting quarterback at 2 major FBS programs.
Okay.
But we're not sure.
That one?
Yeah, we're not sure yet.
Georgia.
Yeah, okay.
Again, going with history, does he typically last a full season without getting hurt?
No, he doesn't.
And this is toward the tail end of the season, correct?
That's an interesting wrinkle that you're tossing in there.
I mean, I hope he doesn't get hurt, but it's very possible he may not be the starting quarterback at this point of the season. I am going to say that's a loss.
You're putting so much sunshine and happiness into this rundown, Scoot. Like I hadn't thought it. Like, it's not bad enough. You have to add a potentially more
I'm
bad
just the
thing.
realist guy here. I'm just trying to throw out some history. I'm a history major. Just giving you some history.
So you're both picking this as a loss.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a win.
Whoa.
Oh, nice.
I'm saying it's a win because the Wildcats don't always come into Morgantown and play
Now
well.
listen, don't let your dislike for the color purple sway whether or not they're going to beat us or not.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I don't think you can be a solid football team in purple.
I mean, that's true.
But I think this is going to be a place where the football team finds some energy. They're at home. They take care of, like, look, Kansas State has what's the running back? Who's the running back? Deuce Vaughn, I think, is super talented, and I expect him to be just a flat out problem for the defense, right? But I don't know that they have anything else all that exciting, and I think we're going to be able. I think it may be close, but I think we're going to get a win here. I'm calling this a win.
All right. So now we finish up the season. We travel to Oklahoma State. Right now, Oklahoma State is ranked 12th in the nation going into the season from the AP poll. This is a loss.
So now,
I think see, this is my problem. The Oklahoma State is like I think Oklahoma State's going to be better than Texas this year in the Big 12. I think Oklahoma State's going to beat Texas as well as us. So, like, that's my problem is I think that, like, there are some sleeper teams in this Big 12 that aren't bad, and we're not one of them. And so now I've got WVU finishing the season not bowl
so that's what I was
5-7.
So that's what I was going to say, Guido. With that pick, then you doom them to not a 6th win. You're dooming them to.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Scooty, I'll let Scooty go first because Johnson's on the edge here. Because Johnson's the same way. You're going to be 5. Johnson's going to pick this as a win.
Here, listen. I know how Johnson thinks, right? So Johnson's thinking, "Hey, I like WVU. I like to watch them play past the regular season. I'm going to predict a win just so that I still have hope that we might play past a regular season somehow, some way."
Yes.
And then I'm going to say to Johnson,
"This is all very true. This is all
Johnson,
very true.
How have we done against Oklahoma State every time we've ever played them? Gundy
not great.
has killed us. He's a man.
Yes.
He's like 50 now.
He's the man. He's over. He's
Listen,
50
if he was
now.
a man back
He
at
was
40,
I'm
he's
probably
still a
almost
man.
50. I'm a man.
And he's not only a man, I would crown him the grand poobah of Big 12 football coaches right now. He is the guy. He is the face of Big 12 college football coaches moving forward because he's probably the most tenured. I don't know that. Is that true?
Probably.
You know what?
Is.
He probably is.
Now Gary Patterson's gone.
Now that Patterson is not at TCU, he probably is for sure.
So I'm going to say he's the most tenured because he is. I'm going to say that he's outspoken. Shoot, he even questioned why Texas and Oklahoma were allowed to go to the Big 12 media days.
Now I liked that.
I love it. I love him.
Yeah, I
love
liked
him.
that.
And they're a good program. They're going to beat us. We're going to be 4-8 by my prediction. Shane Lyons, let's see what he says now. If we have to win and have to get to a bowl game or whatever he's saying has to happen.
Yeah.
Like your buyout is a little bit less. What are we doing?
So, Scoot, you're saying when do we play Texas, Guido?
October 1st.
So you're saying after September, after we pull out of Blacksburg, we're winning one more time.
Yep.
Just like
That's what Scoot's saying. Just TCU.
like
So wait, Johnson, you've got to
No,
pick
I
this
know.
game.
I'm kind
You've
of
gotta
stalling, but
You're stalling on this. I mean, right now, if you pick it as a loss, you're with me. We're 5-7 buddies. If you pick it as a win, you're 6-6, and we're going bowling. I mean, it all hinges on you right now.
No pressure here. No podcast pressure. So I think, unfortunately, when you look at those tweets people put out about the quote unquote new Big 12 and records against the new Big 12 all time, everyone, we are 500 or better, I think, if I remember correctly. And actually, I think everyone except Kansas State, for some reason, were way better than 500 against all of those teams, except this dismal, I think it's like 4-9 against Oklahoma State, most of that being since 2012, obviously. we play we have never, and I don't really know why, Oklahoma State is, in my mind, never like, oh my God, these guys, man, you can't beat these guys. But like, I think Scoot and I showed up 2 home seasons in a row, and it happened to be Oklahoma State weekend, and we got creamed both times.
And then you go there and they do that stupid thing with the paddles up against the side of the stadium.
They spank the gym mats.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You feel like you're in Dazed and Confused, like they're chasing after Mitch.
I think we lose this. I think we lose this game because we have not been able to figure out Mike Gundy. I don't have a whole lot of confidence we'll be able to figure them out at their place late in the season. So yeah, it feels bad, but I'm going with a loss too. It feels bad.
Well, I'm like Daft Punk. I'm one more time after Texas. One more time. That's it. That's all I got.
So all 3 of us have officially picked WVU to not be bowl.
Well, Guido, you and I are 5-7. Is that where we ended at?
Yeah, that's
Skewed
correct.
a
You and I are
bit
both
worse at
5-7.
4-8 in this horrible swoon October and November.
Like, I'll be honest. If there's anything where we win, it's that Kansas State game at home. Like, that's for me the one maybe last grasp. But that puts us, for me, at 5-7.
Well, and that's the other one I have. Yeah. So then,
here's the thing, I'm gonna call out our friends over at the Smoking Musket. They released, all of them, Mike Miller, all those guys that do the podcast. They do a podcast over there. They write.
Wait, what did Jake say? That's what I want to know.
Jake Lance.
Yeah.
He had him as 6-6. He had the worst of all of them.
Oh, really?
Jake had the worst. Yeah. 6-6 is the worst
Jake's
record.
like the only name in WVU Twitter. If it's not John Antonick or Jake Lance, I mean, they're like the EF Huttons to me of if they say it, then I put some respect on it. So,
but and I don't know all these guys. I know Mike Miller's the editor in chief over there at Smoking Musket. He had them at 8-4.
Oh wow.
A couple other guys had them at 7-5, 8-4. Like, I just don't. And I'm with you, Scooty. And here's the problem: I want to be the guy on our podcast. Like, I want to be the guy who is like, I'm the West Virginia guy. Win, win, win. Yay, rah, rah, rah. It's hard right now.
Well, listen,
it's really hard
WVU
right now.
Fans, let me come real with you here. I would love, like Guido just said, I would love to sing the praises. I would love to be nationally known as a powerhouse again. That's what we all want. That's what we feel I'll tell you, that's what we deserve. We don't deserve what we've been getting. I'll tell you that much. But I'm not going to come out here and lead everybody like down this like rainbow road of,
I do like
pixie
a good Mario
dust
Kart reference
and fun times. Like, it's not Candyland. It's hey, what is making you feel that much better?
Well, and I think realistically, Guido, like the way that this schedule shapes up, in fairness to Neil Brown, because I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Neil Brown, but I think even if he and Graham Harrell had the offense clicking on all cylinders and everything, and the defense really shows up, I think if I just told you that you have to go to Pitt, to Virginia Tech, to Texas, to Iowa State, and to Oklahoma State, like, that is a gauntlet of away game. Like, we're not great on the road to begin with, but that is a gauntlet of away games.
Here's another scenario I want to send out to you, which is this is the West Virginian in me. This is what will happen, Johnson. Like, this is how I feel it'll happen, because this is a total West Virginia thing. There is a scenario where WVU starts the season 4-0.
Yeah, right.
There's a scenario.
Right. Yeah.
There's a scenario where WVU wins 4 games in a row, goes 4-0, and then gets plastered through the Big 12 schedule.
The Scoots,
and still
then
finishes
they do Scoots,
5-7.
October, November swing.
Listen,
right.
This is what's crazy to me. Like, I get it. You want to be optimistic. You don't want to be pessimistic. Nobody likes that. It's a bad energy. Nobody likes bad energy. Back in January, February, March, April, when we were doing podcasts week in, week out, and all we kept doing was looking at all the names of people leaving. All we
Yes.
did was look at names of people we were losing.
Right.
And we were not looking at a big number of people coming in. We've brought in my mind, excuse me, in my mind, 2 people that somehow now have changed everybody's opinion, that we went from like, man, we're not very good. We lost in a bowl game. We looked miserable there. We went from that to one guy who was an offensive coordinator for a team where his head coach got fired. So, listen, I think Grant Harrell's going to be better than Neil Brown.
Yeah,
He's going to be better.
Too, but that feels bad.
It wasn't like
yeah.
he was setting the world on fire.
Right. Yep.
And he was at North Texas before that. So, again, it's not like we've brought in, I don't know, some offensive juggernaut of a guy. I think he's better than what we had. But let's not get crazy. And we've got a quarterback who hasn't been named a starter yet, which I know is all semantics and is stupid that that's even happened like this. But he hasn't been named a starter yet, and he has yet to really put together full seasons because he gets hurt. So because of those 2 guys, we're all of a sudden going to go from a 6-6 or 6-7 team, which is what we were last year, right? Am I right? 6-7.
Yeah.
But
right.
but here my argument, Scooty, is I hear what you're saying, but my argument is this is college football. This is where that happens.
But we didn't do anything
right?
else. We don't have all these like big time players coming in. We're hearing about we're taking a guy that played tight end and now we're going to make him the 4th string running back, and we're supposed to get excited about CJ McDonald. What's CJ McDonald?
Yeah, I think his nickname is Big Mac.
Yeah. We have to get excited about Big Mac coming in and playing as the 4th running back. Like, we're getting kind of this, I know we don't like the smoke and mirrors thing, but we're getting a little bit of that again, not to the extent of Jarrett Doege's the most improved player on the field, he's a true leader, all that jazz that we got last year. But, like, listen, show me something different and then I'll get excited. I have yet to see the difference.
It's going to be a tough season. I mean, I'm hoping there's the part of me that's like, okay, we are going to smoke Pitt, and then next week I'm going to be drinking the Kool-Aid again and excited about it. And I really kind of hope that happens, because right now I'm not. Like, I think it's going to be, I'm going to cook all of this food. I'm going to be sitting outside. I'm going to have my projector up on the wall, ready for this Pitt game on Thursday night, and then I'm going to be depressed for the next week and a half until we play Kansas.
Well, let me ask you one final question maybe then. Now that we've landed where we landed, if your scenario that you proposed, Guido, came true and you won those first 4 games and you went 4-0, meaning you won the Backyard Brawl, you secured the line on the Black Diamond Trophy, and then you ended 4-8. Would you be happy with that?
Oof. No, I would not.
Would you take any solace in that at all?
Because here's the problem. It's gonna. You know what it's gonna feel like? I almost feel like that's gonna be worse, because it's gonna feel like last basketball season where we went into conference play in January, and what did we had like 13.
Yeah, we were like
wins
13
going into
and
January
1 or something like that. Yeah.
What happens?
And then we just got
what happens
plastered.
if we win those 3 non-conference games but lose to Kansas? Do you feel good about it?
Oh no, obviously not. No.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think I'm okay. If you're saying if we go into the Texas game 3-1 with Kansas as the one loss,
yes.
Is that what you're saying? I think
well,
I'm okay with that.
I immediately went to, what does that tell me about the team moving? So I guess at that point in time, like if you asked me on September 23rd and we were 3-1 and had this terrible loss to Kansas, I guess I'd be happy about those other 3
What about 2-2? Let's say you lose the first 2.
No, I'm probably not.
No,
I'm
not happy with that at all, because Virginia Tech's not very good, and you lost to Kansas.
And I don't think that changes the outcome of the rest of the season. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a weird thing. And like I feel like for the first time in a long time as a WVU fan, listen, last year 6 wins, like that, going to a bowl game, I was happy with that, right? Because that's what we expected. Like, I think the problem is this year, the fan base, I think the administration, I think their expectations are higher.
Yeah, and I
think it's going to be very hard for those expectations.
Yeah,
to
and
be
I
met.
think I think you're right, and I think the hype around these, even Scoot, to your point, you're right. It's just 2 additions, but I think those 2 additions were viewed as, oh man, now we're in good shape. And I think it's built up a lot of, if you pay any attention, which I know you do, to WVU Twitter, there's a lot of 8 wins, 9 wins people out there.
Herd Hater's out there. He's like 9,
So,
10 wins.
You know,
like, what are we
like,
talking
those
about, buddy?
people I hope they're right, but man, I can't get my head around it.
Here's a pessimistic question because I'm full of them. Is there a scenario where Neil Brown doesn't escape the season, kind of like a Gary Patterson?
I think Neil Brown's here. Listen, I hate to tell everybody this. I don't know. I know where you're going down, Scoot, and we really need to take a break here. But like, I think that Neil Brown is here for 2 or 3 more seasons, no matter what happens. No matter
Well, and
what
I think
happens.
Guido with I'm
I
assuming
think
that
outside of us getting, I think 4 and 8 would be tough. But I think if he wins 5 or 6, he's here another year.
Scoot, I think the contract's in his favor too. I mean, I think it's going to be. I agree with Guido.
All right, well, listen, guys, we'll see what happens this week. WVU plays Pitt Thursday night on ESPN, 7:00 kickoff. Backyard Brawl back for the first time in 11 years. We've all picked it as a loss.
And I hope all 3 of us are very wrong, Guido. I will be rooting. Listen, as soon as I see those helmets and uniforms run out of the tunnel, I'm going to be amped. And I'm going to be like, why did I pick a loss? I'm all in. Let's hammer these Panthers. I hope we're all 3 wrong. I hope next show we're talking about how wrong we were.
I hope we're all 3 wrong too. I mean, I'm anxious to see how this is taken online. I think our Twitter friends are going to give us a hard time for some of these picks we have for this season, guys. So we'll see what happens. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. We'll recap the Pitt game. We'll talk about the upcoming Kansas game and whatever else has happened with WVU sports. So thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.